Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about some sin related videos that I saw recently, and you can call it sin or you can call it as a life lesson that humans are meant to learn when they are on earth as part of understanding how to get away from the cycle of birth, rebirth, and life lessons we have to learn when we are meant to learn when we are on earth. So there are actually, according to some teachings that I saw online, there are at least 7 sins that I found online. From my own life experiences, I actually thought there are more than 7 sins, but in the basic level, at least, most humans have to traverse some elements related to these 7 sins in order to become slightly more evolved in life than we are currently on current earthly life. So, one of the sins that came up is the sin of ignorance. And let's just simply look at ignorance, because currently on earth, most of us think that we are not ignorant when we have a educational qualification, and many people also perceive themselves as ignorant when they do not have a educational qualification based on what modern society has created is a of educational value. So we have people who are from poor classes, who or poverty stricken family, or whose family might have been rich at some other point of time in their life, like their grandparents or parents might have been moderately well to do or very well to do, but currently their family might be experiencing a lot of loss, or they might not be rich enough to educate themselves in some elite institutes. So, as a result, there are, and I have met those people, because in India we do have those people who also those who didn't get valuable education, possibly in they might have had education until 10th or 12th, or they might still have some bachelor's degrees, but because they don't have the higher degrees, people can feel that they are unworthy, or they can be made to feel that they are ignorant, when the truth is each of us, irrespective of our educational status, has a wealth of information or wisdom or understanding about certain way of living that we might not have a understanding about, because of which it is not our educational qualifications that makes us ignorant. Our ignorance stems from whatever we don't know about earthly life, which we can learn from anyone, and which is what the sin of ignorance is. Sin of ignorance is not transcended if you get a higher educational qualification. But unfortunately, in the modern world, because those who have higher educational qualifications can tend to have high paying jobs, and because materialism is material gains are perceived as a way of transcending ignorance, or people assume that ignorance is if you do not know how to make money. Ignorance is if you're not wise enough or clever enough to make the top tier 20, 30, 40% of any profession and make money in that profession according to being in that top tier of that profession. And people assume that ignorance is if you are poverty stricken, or if your family became suddenly poor out of the blue, that you are a ignorant person. But when the truth is, that is not true ignorance at all. True ignorance is being ignorant or remaining ignorant about the purpose of your existence on the earth that you're existing on, at the time point you're existing on, with the people you are existing with, and with the people or society or group of people you are meant to exist with or coexist with. True ignorance relates to that. So every one of us has the spirit of ignorance, and every one of us who has a life lesson related to ignorance that we have to transcend, or ignorance related sin that we have to overcome, each of us will be given different life lessons on life related to that ignorance. So for me, for example, what have I been ignorant about in my life because of whatever karma I had in possibly a past life, or even in my present or future life, whatever karma I'm generating, because karma is something that is continuously happening as a result of our choices, thoughts, actions, words, and deeds that we are doing, or deeds that we can influence others to do. People do not realize karma also is what you influence others to do. That's why there are many people who are also ignorant, who do manipulate people into doing evil and thinking that they are not reaping the consequence of the evil because they didn't themselves do that act. But if you had influenced someone to do an act which was an evil act or a dark act, or if you had influenced someone to simply foster their darkness in them, you are adding to the evil on earth, you are adding to the ignorance on earth. Which is what in the story of, if you have read the Shakespearean story of Macbeth, or watched any of its dramatic interpretations, and there are movie interpretations, drama interpretations of it. And in India, the Macbeth story was, I'm forgetting the Hindi movie, but there's a Hindi movie that has been made in that story of Macbeth. And I'm sorry, I started talking about Macbeth when I wanted to actually not talk about Macbeth. This is something universe is trying to tell me that, or show everyone. Like if I start talking about a story, people might think I know many things about many stories, which is not true. My ignorance is I do not actually know the details of the Macbeth story or understand the details of the Macbeth story. But universe diverted me a little bit into that area to bring a little bit of humor into my video, and also to show that we are, even if we are a teacher about something or trying to guide people about something, doesn't mean while I'm making a video about ignorance doesn't mean that I am perfectly transcended things related to ignorance. So I haven't transcended things related to ignorance. And one way to get out of the sin of ignorance is this, that even if you are talking or have become a remote expert about something, it's not necessary that your ignorance completely goes away when you are on earth or living a earthly life. You will still be ignorant about certain pockets of earthly living, unless you were meant to be like a soul who is meant to be like the overseer of earth. Like after you die, if say you were meant to be like an angel who has to understand multiple aspects of human life, only that angel is going to be able to understand ignorance at a very, very high conceptual and deeper level, and will have a wealth of information in them. Other than that person who's meant to be like the person who's going to oversee everything on earth, if I'm not supposed to be that person who's meant to oversee everything on earth or talk about every given topic on earth, should I be doing that work? No, it will become a draining work for me. It will become a challenging thing for me if I start doing the work that I am not capable of handling, even if someone gives me a work saying that this is the challenge you have to do. So ignorance is what then? Ignorance is this, that if I am given a task that I do not have the capacity to do, and I force myself to do it, that is also a type of ignorance that certain people persist on earth. Or say I was born in a middle class family, which is my truth, that according to what life I have led, I've been born in a simple middle class family. Now, having been born in a simple middle class family, of which some side of my family didn't have too much prosperity, and they felt that they are being ignorant if they do not attain that prosperity that they see other people have in their life. And there's another side of the family, they had attained a moderately middle class to upper middle class level of prosperity in their life. Even then, they also stayed ignorant to the life purpose that was meant to unfold for them based on the prosperity level they had in their life. And I'm talking about this, which will also make people think that I am also reveling in the sin of judgment, where if you start comparing or contrasting things, people start thinking that you are being judgmental. But this is not about judgment, while it may seem judgmental, because this is about cultivating discernment about your life purpose. So now if I want to demonstrate an example of something, there are in order to teach something, there has got to be a way to make that thing easily visible to people. So those people who have the gift of discernment, or who are not ignorant about discernment, they will understand that in order to talk about something, teach about something, to evolve about something in life, sometimes you have to give a contrasting example. But at a time when you're contrasting two different divergent things, it doesn't mean you're judging the two things. Who is judging the two things? The person who will judge is one who is feeling emotionally insecure about what they have and what they don't have, who is feeling like they are ignorant, when the truth is we are all ignorant in some aspects of living currently on earth. And we are presently on that level of earthly existence where that ignorance will be there, because that was part of our life purpose of leading a particular life on earth. We will be ignorant about certain things, because there's a purpose to everyone existing, so many people, 8 billion people who are existing on earth currently. There's a purpose to each 8 billion person. So if out of 8 billion people, 1 million people or 1 billion people do not know about something in life, if you are feeling low about yourself, insecure about yourself, do not understand your life purpose, are immature about your life purpose, are asleep about your life purpose, you will not realize that there's a purpose to your not having a particular kind of wisdom or particular kind of information, because that is the information you didn't come to learn on earth. So understanding what is it that you came to learn, what is it that you are meant to align with, is very necessary on earth, because each segment of population on earth has its own purpose, has its own way of doing things, has its own wisdom that is necessary for it to do a particular type of work, because of which we have a earth filled with so many people and different countries filled with multiple population of people doing a particular way of living, because that is necessary for them to lead and do certain things in life that no one else can do that they are doing. Same way someone else's. So if for example, like, because I have lived in US and India, I usually talk about American lifestyle and Indian lifestyle. And for me, what I realized was there's a particular way of living that is propagated in American lifestyle, which is necessary for a country that is not highly populated to have that kind of a lifestyle. Same way, there's a particular kind of lifestyle which is popular in India, which is again necessary for a country like India, because of population density and other factors related to the Indian climate, Indian cultural systems, right? So if an Indian, when as an Indian I go to America and I start, if I am that Indian who feels insecure about what I know and what they know, then I cannot function compatibly with them. Whereas if I am that Indian who understands that there is a role I have, that because of that role I have been given the opportunity to go and live in a different country, and there's a role they have because of which I am going to a different country to learn something from them, then it fits the right purpose. And whatever I am ignorant about, the reason why I have been given an opportunity, or I was given the opportunity to go and live in a different country, was because the particular way of living or lifestyle or thought process or insight or observation or discernment that I can bring into a different culture is necessary for that culture. That's why I was sent there. Same way, a different way of living was meant to unfold for me, because of which their cultural influences eventually ended up influencing and shaping many things related to my adult life, right? And again, when I was brought back to India, now while I had learnt that lesson, what is the purpose of being an outsider in a foreign country, now the opposite experience happened when I became an outsider in my own home country. Because when I have adopted certain ways of living from a foreign culture, if that way of living is not yet propagated in this country or is looked down upon in this country for whatever reasons, then I now became an outsider in a place where I again have some valuable insights from a different country that I can use, that can be used and translated to this country's way of living. But it can't shape this country's way of living until people here now understand that when an outsider comes, even if it is an outsider who was earlier not an outsider, earlier knew how to live according to the standards of this country, whoever is coming, be it a foreigner, be it someone who's just simply returning from a different country after having lived there for a while, you have to understand it is not the ego or it is not a judgment that causes people sometimes to contrast some ways of living. Because that is the purpose of those people who travel and go to different countries or live in different countries. Their purpose is to transfer information, bring change, do something refreshing, clear something that is not as refreshing. For example, in our body, and I'm going to translate this into a human body's experience also, because this is how earthly life is. Like at the micro scale, what is happening in a human body or even in a small cell is the same thing that is happening at a macro scale globally on earth. So in our human body, what is the transporting system in our human body? The transporting system in our human body is our circulatory system. And with our circulatory system, blood gets transported to different parts of the body, and when the blood is circulating to different parts of the body, blood is giving not only a healthy oxygen to different parts of the body, blood is also supposed to give nutritious content to different parts of the body. Blood is also supposed to transport energy particles to different parts of the body, so that right energy, right oxygen, right water is also transported via blood. All these essential nutrients that are needed for our body to exist in a balanced state, all of these are getting transported via the blood. And while it's transporting, one side we have the arteries and veins in our body. While the arteries are transporting all the healthy nutrients to rest of our body, what are the veins doing? The veins are now taking all the toxic things, toxic metabolites, unclean things that have been collecting in our body, garbage that has been collecting in our body. The veins are doing that job of collecting all the garbage, and then they will be disposed of according to our body's elimination and excretory systems, right? So that's why it is like how blood is doing this job. There's one series of blood which is giving you essential nutrients. There is another series of blood vessels that are taking away all the dirty things, right? So like that, those people who are moving between different countries, who have a job, like they might be a business person who travels to different countries for business purposes. They might be an executive who is traveling to different countries for executive decision making related to their business. They could be simply a worker like me who stays in a particular country for a few decades and works there and sees the professional life there. A housewife also who is tied to a worker, and that housewife has essential, like, to a person who's tied to a particular job, like say they could be a doctors without borders person, and that doctor who is working with doctor without borders, who goes to different countries for administering medical work. Now their wife also has a purpose, their children also have a purpose, that's why they are tied to that person. So if they have a wife and a child who travel with them while they're traveling to different countries for their medical work, at that time the wife also has a purpose that is unfolding for her. She might be learning about different cultural influences. The children might be learning about different cultural influences, right? Or so that's why essentially, and learning meaning what? One place, like how our blood vessels are, there are some blood vessels who are distributing nutritious information everywhere. The other set of blood vessels are taking away all the garbage, right? So that's how people are also. So when people travel to different countries, some people are the kind who are distributing information about what needs to, what is healthy way of living. That information exchange is going on, because blood is also able to, first for blood to also distribute the essential nutrients everywhere. What does blood do? Blood first goes to the blood vessels. Our blood vessels first transport oxygen from our lungs. Healthy oxygen from our lungs gets transported to the heart and then gets distributed everywhere. Similarly, healthy food and nutrition gets absorbed from our stomach and it gets cleaned by our liver, and then it gets transported everywhere. The liver and our other elimination systems, they are doing their job of, when it's via sweat, certain toxins can get dispelled via sweat, certain toxins get dispelled by our kidney, certain toxins get dispelled when we are coughing, certain toxins are also getting engulfed by our lymphatic system so that they can be digested by the lymphatic system and crushed and broken down into pieces that then can get eliminated from our body. So all these different multiple organs have its own set of functions, right? So how multiple organs, circulatory system has its own function, stomach has its own function, liver has its own function, kidney has its own function, brain has its own function, skin has its own function. Every organ has its own function. Like that, every human has its own function, and a group of humans of a particular country have their own function. That's why a group of humans from India may have a certain kind of functionality that they have to do that a group of humans from China don't do, but group of humans from China may have some different functionality that they are meant to do. And because India and China are neighboring countries, the people who live in the border places of both these countries and other countries are also present in between some of our borders. The people who live in those in between border countries also, all of them also have a particular function, which is again similar to our stomach and liver are close to each other. So the function of the stomach can't be done by the liver, the function of the liver can't be done by the stomach. But there are some in-between cells which are the blood vessels and other compartment cells or the connective tissues in between the two that are present in between our stomach and liver, and those in between cells that are present in the body that also keep our stomach fixed in a particular way. Like when I'm exercising, if I don't have those in between fixed cells also, the in between connecting tissues also, if I'm doing a strenuous exercise, jumping around a lot, what will happen? All my stomach contents will start getting jumbled up, right? But my stomach stays in its own place, my heart stays in its own place, all my different organs are stable and connected in its own place via certain tissues, right? So those connective tissues that are keeping all these organs intact in their own place, those are like the in-between people of two countries. They know how to stabilize the two countries. They know how to keep the borders intact from ensuring that people, there are some things that they are meant to do, the people who are living in the border regions of both countries or any country. And that is where you have to understand what is the purpose of your living in a border like area. If you don't understand what is the purpose of your living in a border like area of two countries, then what starts happening is war start unfolding. Or if you don't understand the value and purpose, that if two countries are having their own specific purpose and you just start looking at the other country as that's their enemy, you forget that we are all part of the earth system. Like how a liver can't have bitterness against stomach, that why is stomach getting to digest all the food, why don't I get the food. Liver also gets the food or medicine and other things does pass through the liver, but liver's function is not to digest them, liver's function is to metabolize them. So liver has a different function, stomach has a different function. Same way, lungs have a different function, heart has a different function, our eyes have a different function, our ears have a different function. In eyes also, no, both eyes aren't, even though they are doing some similar function, again our both eyes don't do the same function. Meaning this eye is meant to look at more things from this side of my body, left side of my body's function. This eye is meant to look from center to this side of my, there is a in between area where both the eyes are meant to focus on jointly, and the area where both eyes can look straight, that area both eyes are doing similar functions. But their job again is to merge. When my eyesight is clear, both these eyes will assimilate the information in front of me in a balanced manner in order for me to see what I am seeing in front of me in the right way. And I have eye health problems, so when I have an eye health problem where I know this eye is not able to see as well as this eye, at that time whichever eye is functioning at a lower capacity, I'm able to know that because both these eyes are seeing something similar in front of it. And when both of them are meant to give similar images but they are not processing the similar image to my brains, it means there's something going on in my eye function or connective tissue related function or nervous system functions between this eye and the brain, which is leading to the problem in my eye, right? So if I don't know anything about biology, I will just trust whatever the doctor is giving me information about my eye. But if I know a little bit deeper about biology, if I am a healthcare student related to medical field who works with medicine, who has worked with medicine in the past, who has the capacity to discern scientific literature, that person will have a more in-depth understanding of why my eye is functioning or dysfunctioning in a particular way. So which is what ignorance is about. Like if I am at a KG level student, as a KG student or first standard, second standard, third standard, whatever school, basic primary school student, at that time when I got my glasses, I didn't know what was going on wrong with my eyes. All I knew was I can't see properly. That's why I told that to my parents, who, if I don't tell to my parents that I can't see properly, my parents can't intervene and get me a correction for the problem I am facing. So once I told my problems to my parents, they went and changed my eyesight related problem by giving me glasses. Now the second problem was, even though I got glasses, they were not fully meeting my needs. And I did try to explain it to my parents, but to my parents who were used to wearing glasses for a long time, for them that is the only solution that they knew. So they didn't think too deeply about this problem, that why is her glasses not working for her. But over my years, and that's why I don't wear also glasses even though I do have a eyesight problem, because of multiple reasons. Because the way the current glasses are structured in like how optometrists diagnose your condition, I know it doesn't fit the needs of the condition I actually have. So because it's not fitting all the conditions of the problem I actually have, I do tend to wear glasses when I need to do very critical work where good clear eyesight is necessary. Where good long distance eyesight is not necessary, I am not wearing my glasses usually, right? And this is how I have managed to work for a long time, because I like clarity. And when I was wearing glasses, because my glasses were not meeting all the needs of the problem I have here, because eyeglasses only usually correct your lens related problem, but if your problem is more deeper than simply the superficial lens, that problem can't be solved if I just go to a optometrist. I need to go to a next level doctor who understands what are the deeper things going on. And again, in going to the next level doctor also, if let's say I need some surgery here, or some other problem is going on that needs to be resolved, even if that while going to a surgeon, if I end up going to a surgeon who is not as skillful in understanding my deeper problems, they will not be able to do the surgery properly. Let's say I have a very complex thing going on here which needs like a top 10% class surgeon to do that thing. But if I go to a surgeon who is not as skilled, who can, if you have a nerve problem, maybe he knows how to fix a simple nerve problem. But if he doesn't know how to fix complex nerve problem, or if my problem is not simply a nerve problem, it's a multi-layered, much more deeper problem that even surgeons are able to work on, or simple normal ordinary surgeon will be able to work on. Should I wait to get this any kind of procedure done on this, or should I just directly go to whichever doctor I find who says, oh yeah, who just matches my analysis that I have simply more than a lens problem, and they have understood that there is a deeper problem, and then they want to do surgery, and because they agree that I have a deeper problem, I'll just do the surgery because they said I should do the surgery. I can do that, but when? I can do that when maybe I have a lot of money, and whichever surgeon who is accessible to me, I have been a hypochondriac maybe and have gone to 10 doctors, and I finally found a doctor who matches my opinion. I do the surgery. I can do that. Personality can do that. The personality who's very rich, who will just simply, it's not a big deal if after surgery something goes wrong. They think that they can take medicine and other things, or they can go to another doctor to fix it. Someone who has a lot of time to focus on this eye problem, those kind of people will go and immediately find a resolution to something that is disturbing them. But I have been existing with this problem for nearly 30 plus years. Why have I been existing with this problem for 30 plus years? One is, my parents didn't understand the deeper repercussions, so as a child they didn't do anything about it. As an adult, I have gone to different optometrists every few years to get my lenses changed every few years, and at that time, from different optometrists, I have actually gauged deeply about what is going wrong with my eye area. And not because I have been studying optometry, not because as a healthcare person, if I want, I can definitely go much deeper into all the mechanics of how my eye functions. I have that educational qualification to read through a medical text, to read through a surgery text, and understand deeply what is actually going on here. But I didn't go and do that because that is my personality. I do not do a deep diving unless it is necessary for me to do the deep diving, and because I could function with a disability for a while. I'm okay functioning with a disability for a while. So while I'm ignorant about what is deeply going on here, and I have the capacity to dispel my ignorance by doing the deep diving, I didn't focus on this. Why? Because I have too many other life problems going on in my life that were my primary focus. So which is how health and life is for many people on earth. Let's say you are a human who is a top class human, who is a rich human, who has access to a lot of resources, who has access to a lot of problem solving, and who has maybe a deeper level problem solving skill. That person, every time they see a problem, might start solving their problem immediately. That is their job. So if you have that personality type who is a problem solver all the time and constantly immediately solving their problem, immediately I have this challenge, I want to solve it. That is your personality, you will do that. But my personality is not like that. But if my personality is not like that, then why has God given me all these problems? Because my personality is first see what is going on with that issue, understand what is deeply going on. Is there a simpler way to solve the problem than going into the complex way? Like, why should I, as a 10-year-old, go and insist on my parents that there is something deeper going on, ask them, push them to go and maybe help me go and do a surgery? Because one thing I also realized later on in life is that I have also cataract going on. So for cataract also, cataract surgery is possible. One time in my 30s, I did ask a doctor also to look into the cataract related things. 2 doctors consulted on that. Both of them said they can't do the surgery because it has not reached the level at which cataract surgery can be done. But it's a good thing, all these things, the stall happened, the barriers happened, the challenges happened, all of which, and my own personality type, all of which combined kept me from ever thinking that I need surgery in this eye. But now I know that I might need surgery in this eye because it is going worse and worse in health, and not simply going worse and worse in health. There are other deeper problems. I'm understanding now that there are nerve problems also that are now worsened because of multiple other reasons. And it's not simply nerve problems. I have a circulatory system problem. If I have a circulatory system problem, circulatory system related problems also impact your eye function, which will also impact your nervous system function, because everything is connected in our body and everything has to function in the right way in order to function, every one of us, for us to function in a balanced way. So similarly, I'm focusing on my eye problem because this is how our life on earth is also. In our life on earth, some country is meant to be the eye of the world, another country is meant to be the hearing of the world, another country is meant to be the liver of the world, another country is meant to be a stomach of the world, and it may be a group of countries who are meant to function as a gastrointestinal tract of the world. There is a group of countries who's meant to be a group of people. Let's not say country now, let's say now people, because there is going to be a group of people who will be doing because our alimentary canal starts from here and goes until our back area. So it is essentially present through our entire middle area of our body, right? So this whole middle area of the body is similar to a part of earth where most population of earth exists. They are meant to do this central part of our world's functions. Those who live in the ancillary regions, in the regions where less population is there, regions where like people who are living in the islands, or people who live in Australia, people who might start settling in Antarctica if Antarctica starts going green, all these people are meant to be what? They are meant to be the foot of the world, they are meant to be the hands of the world. So like that, everyone has a different set of function. The one who can do carry a lot of load, they will be doing the heavy lifting. The one who can walk long distances are the ones who can do the traveling related work that is necessary to understand what brings balance on earth, what brings change on earth related to whatever changes are necessary. Those who are supposed to do the thinking, they are supposed to do the thinking related work because that is their core domain. And that's why you will see there are so many thinkers who were paralyzed on earth, and even though they were paralyzed, their thinking didn't stop. Their work related to what field they were working on didn't stop. But Steve Hawkins, he continued doing physics related work despite him being paralyzed, right? So same way, when we get disability, people have to realize that if you have got disabled, there is some deeper things that you might have to do if you are sick. That is why when I had cancer also, there were deliberate blocks put on my path where some financial challenges were happening. I was forgetting my first my cards got stolen, then I started forgetting my passwords, then I had such a heavy health problem that I couldn't even go to the bank to ask them to fix some of my problems. My phone was glitching and doing some things where my phone passwords were also not working. So whatever was happening, multi-level financial challenges happened at the same time. Now if I start like thinking that why is this challenge happening and start crying, why am I having this challenge, or like start fighting a challenge which I can't fight at that time, because if I'm not healthy and my brain is not functioning, I can't do anything about it. If my cards are stolen, all I can, the part that I can do is complain that my cards are stolen, I can't use my card anymore. That's all I can do. When my online passwords are not working, I can go and intimate the bank that I need a password change, but at that time COVID was happening, so I couldn't go to the bank until essential functions were only entertained at the time in India. So for a while I didn't go because of that. Then afterwards, when I could indeed go to fix my problem, at that time there were other people also who have a lot of backlog problems that needs fixing. So now there's a backlog happening in the banks. So the banks, understanding that there's a backlog happening, should have employed some temporary people at least for a while, should have employed, but they didn't do that. So now all the problems during COVID that didn't get addressed during COVID, those who had absolute urgent need of money, they went and started doing whatever they had to do to get their problem urgently resolved. But there are also people who also went, who are healthy, who can stand in line for 10 hours, or not 10 hours, but all the banking wait times got increased because not enough adequate personnel were there in relation to the amount of work that needs to be done. And it's not that there are not jobless people in India. There are jobless people, and banks functioning having increased suddenly, they could have employed some temporary employees and realized that it was going to be only a temporary job. But while they were trying to employ people, maybe some people didn't see the jobs and couldn't apply, or whatever the reason, the wait times increased. And because the wait times increased, now I had to wait long hours, one hour, to fix a problem that earlier might have taken only half an hour wait time. But my health was not well. So if my health is not well, I can't go and do the function that I would be easily able to do if my health was well. But again, everything was interconnected, that one thing was causing another thing was causing another thing, all of which meant I was meant to sit at home and heal whatever I could heal based on limited resources and limited access to money. Because are there people on earth who have limited access to money, limited resources, who are poor, who are poverty stricken, who may not have family who can help them when they are sick, who may not have people around in their life, even if they are capable of helping them physically, they do not have the capacity to help them mentally or emotionally. Like, if there is a mother who's taking care of a disabled child, that mother may have a child who, even if that disabled child may not be like physically, that child might be able to give her some food or whatever, but that child is not going to be able to understand if the mother goes to a doctor to give her a complex information related to healthcare. For that mother, simple information related to healthcare is needed, and a simple solution is needed. And if that mother is a mother who is dependent on the child, who is the primary caretaker of that child, that mother now, if she falls too sick, she can't caretake that child, or if she has to be hospitalized for one month or 2-3 weeks, many things will fall apart in that child's life also. So are there other interventions that mother will need? She will need some social intervention. She might need some family intervention. So these are the things I was meant to observe and think about and reflect on, because I was ignorant about these things related to living conditions. And most people who are educated like me, who work in healthcare industries, they are all usually catering to the upper middle class or higher class people. Most people do not look into the healthcare related problems unless you're working in government agencies. And again, in the government agencies also, when government interventions are given, government interventions might work and look at people and below the poverty line. But then there is still a middle subset of people who are not below the poverty line or don't fit the government intervention criteria of any country, and then those people get, and those people's healthcare needs then get ignored. And I was falling in that middle subset. I am not that poor that I need a government subsidy or intervention, but I am not that rich. I was not working also at that time, so I fell into that middle category where I have resources to go, and I do not only have resources, I also have the education to understand which intervention, if propagated to me, will work only if I am super rich, or if I am ready to spend and invest that much amount of money in the caretaking regimen that you are suggesting to me. And I am also, because I have a business degree and a healthcare administration degree, I can gauge at least typically, even if I have not lived in India for a long time, to know what are the current healthcare costs in India. I still knew what are the estimate of healthcare costs that will be needed for me to get the treatment regimen you are suggesting. And for me, it was not simply about the estimate of a healthcare cost as well. It was also related to having access to money. If I am really that sick, I'm not able to go and get access to money. If people in my family, when I'm asking them for a particular kind of monetary help, where they had to simply do the barest minimum, go to the bank on my behalf to withdraw some money for me, they couldn't do that. That simple functions they are unable to do. Or if you ask them to do that function, they will do the barest minimum. Like if I need, say, 5,000 or 50,000 rupees to last me for a few months, they will give me only 5,000 now, or 500 or 5 rupees. Will it work? If my current need is I need to spend 500 rupees a day, and if they are giving me only 5 rupees a day, is it going to work? No. So even if you are there to help me, to provide me monetary help, you're not giving me the right monetary help. If you are there and I don't have people who know how to provide the physical help or physical caretaking related things that people need in their life when they are severely disabled, severely sick. And not just me, actually multiple women in multiple families I have seen, and also the patients that I used to see who were walk-in patients. As a pharmacist, I saw all the physically able patients come and pick up their medicine, right? Either the physically able patient was coming and picking up the medicine, or on their behalf their physically able husband or a child was able to come and pick up medicine for them. But even there, picking up medicine for a person is the barest minimum function you are doing, which can be resolved now in the modern world. If you need medicine and you don't have family, your medicine can still be delivered to you if you have access to a computer, and a computer can deliver your medicine via online pharmacy work. But even then, there are much more things related to healthcare that is not simply related to delivery of medicine. And true healthcare is not related to delivery of medicine. True healthcare is not related to access to how long you can stay in a hospital. And this aspect, when I started understanding that ignorance related to what is true healthcare, I needed to learn as a experiential thing, because it's easy for me to now explain the ignorance related to healthcare in a deeper manner. And because I'm able to explain this ignorance related to healthcare in a deeper manner now, am I a more capable person of understanding healthcare challenges of those middle group of people who are getting ignored or who cannot afford super expensive medical care, as well as who are not eligible to fit into the social security related care or government assistance related care. And those people also need care, because if that middle class of people, lower middle class to middle class of people who have limited access to resources or are having other social challenges in their life, those people's social challenges need to be fixed first. Those people's practical operational challenges need to be fixed first. And why am I a operations oriented healthcare person as well? Because of this reason, I'm operations oriented. The business or practical aspects of their challenges need to be fixed first. Business meaning, now again, I did a business administration degree not from the perspective of making money off people, but understanding that business simply doesn't mean making money, which is where the world starts going wrong, when everything becomes about making money. Not everything in life is about making money. Even every business or every human's A purpose in life is not to just gain something from another human being. That is the true ignorance. True ignorance is thinking I have to just gain something from another human being. I have to just get something from someone. True humanity is a balance of getting and giving. That's why when even in a family where there's just a mother with a child who is mentally disabled, if the child is physically able to do certain things, you will see if the child is physically able to do things and has learned the concept of getting and giving, that physically that child will also give something. Like I literally had this conversation with one of my people I know in my society who has some similar kind of family life. She has more family members, but not every family member is occupied enough with her caretaking needs to understand what caretaking she needs when she is sick. But her son at least understands when she is depressed that at least putting on a music and dancing will help cheer her up. Which, even though he is a mentally disabled person, he is still emotionally not that completely disabled, and physically he is healthy enough to at least cheer her up emotionally some days. Which his presence in her life has made her understand this about her. Now, if he wasn't mentally disabled enough if he was a mentally fit child, what would he have done? They have other children. Now the other children go out and do what? Normal things. They are not observing their mom in their home life. They are not observing what the mom needs in her home life. The husband also doesn't observe it deeply enough to understand when she is depressed, to understand when she needs help, to understand when she needs simple caretaking. Like it's not that difficult actually to if you are in a low grade level of depression, it is not that difficult to cheer someone up. It just takes a little bit extra effort and observation. The observation that was given to this person, that opportunity for observation was given when that person got mentally disabled enough to stay at home and not be functional like other functional children. But that is the advantage of even a disability you have. That is the advantage of a disability that gives you the power. You weren't that disabled to not be able to do the rest of the things you are capable of doing when you are present in someone's life. But unfortunately, or I don't know, but there are many other people in the world who, despite being physically present, despite being physically capable of bringing a lot of things into another person's life, they are emotionally or mentally or socially challenged to not be able to give that to their family. Like people who are retired, they can do a lot more in their wives' lives, in their children's lives, that they never did when they were busy working for 30-40 years of their adult life. But in the last 20 years of your adult life, could you bring that into your children's life? You could do that. That is again the true ignorance. Now, because you have the choice, like in my previous video when I talked about how in some elderly people's lives, when you are in your 70s 80s, some of the elderly people, if you are in the, supposed to be in the brahmacharya stage of your life, or getting away from the attachment stage of life. Attachment is also I'll talk about attachment later. But when you are supposed to be getting slowly detached from your earthly living, that kind of personality also will be there. If you're getting detached from your earthly living, that means you are meant to go into a monk-like lifestyle, a nun-like lifestyle, where you completely get detached from everyone in your social life. And after getting detached, you're meant to only focus on God or godly things. Or if you're not interested in your family life, you're supposed to focus on outside family life work. But there are people who have the capacity to do that. They're not understanding their life purpose at that 70th year of their life or 60th year of their life after retirement, and then they get all trapped into wrongful attachments. So someone might get trapped into addiction, someone might get trapped into being lazy, someone might get trapped into thinking that whatever they did for 60 years of their life is all that they need to learn. They don't need to learn anything else, even if they are meant to live another 30-40 years, because you don't know whether in your 60th year, 70th year, whether you're going to pass away in when you're 80, whether you're going to pass away in 1 year. You don't know when you will pass away. But when you don't know when you will pass away, that's why you have to first bring God. That is the ignorance that you have, but that ignorance is also necessary for you to evolve next in life. And in your ignorance, if you start looking at your friends and like seeing, oh my, this friend is spending all his retirement savings on traveling, look at me, I am saving my money by not traveling. That is your ignorance. That person who is traveling, he knows that maybe in another 5 years he may not be on earth anymore. That's why he might be traveling. He might be traveling to go and visit all the relatives that they have. He wants to reconnect with all his family with whom that reconnection had gone away, because you were not any more when you were busy with your family life, you were not connected with them in that social way. So that's why some person might be traveling once a year to visit their family. Another person might decide that all these years they never had the time to understand their wife in a deeper way. So that retired person can start understanding the wife's problems, and not just understanding the wife's problems. Maybe when for 40 years you were busy working in the other life, you got your retirement, but the wife didn't get a retirement, because wife is still continuing. Before retirement also she was taking care of the child, taking care of the home, taking care of home needs, and after retirement also she's doing the same thing. But while in that retirement age, when you are retired and you have that energy to do work, should you be doing some of the housework that your wife does, and distribute that housework that you didn't distribute earlier when you were busy just simply being a workaholic? And you have to understand that is how you stop also degrading as a human in a functional manner. Because if you were a very active human and were very busy mentally and physically doing some challenging things for 10-20 years of your business life, or 10-20-30-40 years of your professional life somewhere, those same things that you used to do in the workplace needs to translate into your retirement life, especially if you are a human who is meant to live. You have the energy, you have the vitality even in your 70s to have the similar kind of vitality as a 50-year-old. If your vitality is still the same as a 50-year-old, 40-year-old, there are many things you can bring on earth. You can start pursuing a hobby like gardening. You can start pursuing a hobby like teaching other people. You can start understanding your wife at a deeper level. And you have those 10 hours that you used to spend outside with your colleagues and your friends. Now, of those 10 hours, maybe after retirement, you're spending even now 1 hour with your friends, socializing with your friends, 1-2 hours interacting with your friends. But even then, you have 8 hours, and in that 8 hours, can't you invest 1 hour in your wife? Understanding your wife at a deeper level, taking care of your wife's needs the way she used to take care. Like when you needed tea, she used to give you tea. When you had a headache, she would give you something to help with your headache. When you wanted immediately something from the store, she would go and get it from the store, because you are busy and it's needed for some, let's say you needed a file or a folder for your work which is missing, or your computer needed something that is not functioning. Who is going and getting those things repaired while you are busy at work? Your wife was doing all those repair work, minimum level caretaking work that she is capable of doing, right? So if you had that kind of a wife, isn't it your time to now that every day for half an hour or 1 hour she was making your life smooth and convenient in some way? So like that, as a husband who's retired, you can make your life convenient for your wife in that 1 hour way now, 1 or 2 hour way now, because you don't know for 40 years if your spouse has given you all this caretaking. At least for 10-20 years, shouldn't you give back that same level of caretaking, and at a double level? Because while they were taking care of you at half an hour level way, or 1 hour 2 hour level way daily, or in the weekends for 2 hours they were focusing on you and your needs, couldn't you do 3-4 hours of focusing on their needs now? And because when in elderly women will need much more help than a woman who was 30-40-year-old woman. So in those ways where if she is not able to carry a heavy load, can you carry the heavy load of laundry? If she's not able to carry a heavy load of bucket while cleaning the kitchen or bathroom, can you do that for her? If you are a retired person and a rich enough person, you had enough money, can you hire the right personnel for her to clean the bathrooms? And in the bathroom also, now people don't realize it, because our chemicals currently on earth are highly toxic. Can you, if you were attentive at workplace to ensure that at your workplace everything, and were a particular person, and everything in your workplace was done in a particular way to ensure that right work was being done, that same skill is translatable after retirement too in your home life, where you can ensure that right level of work is done, clean level of work is done, and the cleanliness that is being done now, if you're hiring people to do it, they start doing it in a way that is appropriate for a aged family to have in their life. Because a person who's in their 70s, if they continue using the same level of highly toxic chemicals in cleaning purposes in their home, it is actually health unsafe. People don't realize it, but that is the cause of death of many people eventually, when too much of unsafe cleansing agents and unsafe chemical exposures in our daily life have led to enough toxin buildup in our body that eventually ends up harming maybe our cardiac health, liver health, kidney health, and eventually causing our death. So in those last 10-20 years of your retired life with your wife or spouse, and if both people were working a lot and couldn't focus on each other during their married life when they were working, now that the children are gone away, they have this empty nest syndrome going on. At that time, it's both their jobs to focus on each other's health. Or if you do have grandkids, then it's your time to also focus on your grandkids, but teach them also to focus on the elderly, because it is your job as a person who's spending the most time with a kid to teach them the right value systems and learn also from them. Like if your grandchild has a better quality than you about something, learn that better quality from that grandchild, because while in this life maybe that skill may not be translatable anymore for you at that point of time when you're dying, or like you don't know, you might be died today, you might die 10 years later, but in those 10 years whatever you picked up from your grandchild, that thing either will help you, if you are a quick picker of good skills, it will help you in the last 10 years of your life. But even if you didn't pick up everything about that good skill that the child was teaching you indirectly, maybe in some ways, you will assimilate that information, and that information will then become valuable in your next life when you reincarnate again on earth as some other soul, or for other purposes related to your soul's journey on this cosmos. So this is also about ignorance, because if ignorance is also not simply that if I am older and I am a 80-year-old person, I have nothing to learn from a 10-year-old child or a 5-year-old child. That is also a ignorance which also needs to be dispelled. So that is also part of your journey about learning. Learning doesn't stop, and it doesn't mean that you are you should be like an energizer bunny, constantly learning, or push yourself to learn something you're not able to learn. That is also okay. Then you might be learning at the time about forgiveness, that I forgive myself for not being able to do what my smart 5-year-old, 10-year-old grandchild is able to do. Admit that, because that is also ignorance, is not admitting that you can't do the same function as someone else. So a liver, if liver doesn't acknowledge that it can't do the cardiovascular system's function and wants to compete with the cardiovascular system, it cannot do the cardiovascular system's function. Cardiovascular system's function is also to filter out some toxins. Liver's function is also to filter out certain toxins. But liver is supposed to filter out there will be some overlapping toxins with both these systems might be filtering out. But majority of the toxins that they are filtering out is different. That's why they are some way similar, but some way very, very different, and they have to be very different because they have a higher purpose to being this different. The same way Indian or Chinese, they have some things which will be very similar because we are Asians. We have something very similar in our DNA also, in our habits also, because we come from densely populated country, in our way of family systems functioning, some things will be very similar. But because we are grown up in two different kind of systems in two different countries, there are some things which are very different, and both of them have a equal and different value for existence on earth. Same way, if an Indian and Chinese goes and lives in America, I have met Chinese people in America, I have met people, other Asians in America, and they all have some different unique skill or personalities, which partly stems from them being from a particular country. But there is also some similarities because of us being Asians. There's also some differences because of us being from different professions. So I have met priests from a different Asian country, I have met doctors from a different Asian country, I have met doctors from a different European country, I have met doctors or other professionals from different South American or African countries. So each of them have a purpose, each of them have a value, each of them have something, if we have met each other, that we can teach each other, which we can't teach if we stay or learn if we and we are maybe just simply meant to learn that they are meant to do this function, I am meant to do this function. That is what maybe you were meant to learn. So when I have met different people from different countries, I cannot do the same function as some other person from a different country. They can't do also likewise some function as I can do, me being from a different country or different background, different family life, different way of living that I am accustomed to, and likewise like they are accustomed to. So we both have individual functions. So now if I go and now start competing and fighting, like I want to be like you and I want your job, or you should take they are thinking that I want your job, then what happens is we are essentially being in a toxic body, which is like a body wrecked with autoimmune disorder, where everyone is our body cells are challenging each other or thinking that our body cells itself are toxic to each other or something. That is where autoimmune disease can happen. Or if your liver suddenly one day decides I want to be the heart, can this liver suddenly become a heart one day? No, unless you die, then that part of cells that died in your body who were part of a liver's functionality, in next life if they want to become a heart's part in someone's body, that can happen. But unless you die, or unless some weird scientist, Frankenstein like scientist comes and decides that I will transplant some liver cells into the heart and force it to become a heart cell, maybe it can be done in some magical sci-fi future. But I would suggest, even if someone scientifically also transmutes a liver cell into suddenly one day becoming a heart cell, if it was not meant to be a heart cell, in the future also it will be a difficult thing for it to do that, unless it was absolutely the only thing left to do or something. I don't know. But look at it in the normal sane earth functioning way. In the normal sane balanced earth, liver is supposed to do its liver's function, heart is supposed to do heart's function, brain is supposed to do brain's function, eye is supposed to do eye's function. And again, if my left eye was supposed to do certain function that right eye can't do, and right eye is supposed to do certain function that left eye can't do, if suddenly if I die, or like when eye donations happen, people should also start looking into this thing also. When eye donations are happening, translate someone's left eye into someone else's left eye. Do not give a left eye to someone's right eye, because whatever nervous system connections are needed for that left eye to do certain kind of functioning may not translate into it doing it in the right way. These are the things where people need to start carefully doing. When I brought my eyes up in this whole discussion is because there's a reason and a purpose for me to delay therapy also sometimes in certain circumstances. And that delay with my eyes, I didn't realize there was a necessity to the delay, because first the whole group of problems needed to be resolved. It was not simply a lens problem, it was not simply a blood flow problem, it was not simply a nervous system problem, it was not simply a cataract problem. It is actually a combination of all these problems. Now if I meet a doctor who understands all these problems, then also it will not solve my problem, because a doctor also can have the same educational knowledge as me and understand all these problems deeply. Or if I meet a pharmacist who understands all these problems deeply, again that person can't solve it because they are a pharmacist. So who can solve the problem? The surgeon who understands that complex things are going on, that person can solve it. When can I solve the problem? The day when I have access to the right amount of money to be able to do this, or find a surgeon who will be ready to do this pro bono. And when should I do this? Or where should I do it? Where the cleanest set of circumstances, healthiest set of circumstances are present for me to do the surgery, so that I don't go blind, or so that I don't have a repercussion after that surgery, so that I do not have not only a repercussion after a surgery, but while healing from the surgery. Maybe the surgery went fine, the place where the surgery is done is absolutely perfect, but if in my home life conditions are not present that will cause good healing for this, should I be in that circumstance where I should do surgery? I can't. That's why I have and this I think that I'm explaining so clearly is something that was also happening related to my other health problems that I cropped up in the last few years, where I couldn't find a family circumstance where if I went and wanted to go and see, let's say there are doctors in different parts of my family, or some family have done work with doctors, so they know different doctors. So in different family, like let's say my cousins, my uncles, my aunts, my ancillary cousins, all of them have access to some good doctor or other, but some good doctor, some average doctor, some doctor. But just having access to the doctor was not necessary for me to recover from any condition. So if I go to their home and say today that, hey, I need medical help, can you take me to the right doctor? Yes, some of them will take me to the right doctor. But after that doctor sees me, treats me, at home life, none of their homes had the necessary condition where a patient with surgery will be able to recover in a healthy manner. For multiple reasons. Some don't know what right caretaking is. Some don't know that unclean water, air, other lifestyle conditions are present in their life that needs change. Some don't know that, and in my own home, I knew how to keep my home clean in the cleanest way I knew at that time. But because of other challenges I faced at that time, which led to some people ending up causing some contamination in my water supply and in my cleansing supply via giving bribes to possibly maids or something. I don't know what happened behind my back, but the consequence of it was my clothes and everything in my home that could be kept clean or had the conditions for my home to be in the cleanest environment of all the environments where I have lived with other family. My home was the cleanest. But even though it was the cleanest, and it was simply the cleanest also because it was the newly built home, it was also the cleanest because not many people, overcrowding was not present, so there were many conditions that kept that home really clean. But when some calamity had to strike, it strikes. So that calamity struck where I could not have the necessary conditions to get healed in that home as well. In fact, it became toxic for me to find any healing there. So I can't even go and live in my own home, even though I own a own home. And right now I'm living actually in the least toxic of all the homes, because it's least toxic not because really least toxic conditions are present. It's simply least toxic because the number of humans I have to fight to teach what is good health supportive practices are less. And also because the person I'm living with is very lazy, so they are not doing things. But even though they are lazy, it's also not least toxic in some other ways. Now I'm left with the dilemma: where do I go to heal myself or to get treated for my health condition if the right conditions are not present? Like whichever way I go, right now I have a very narrow path of figuring out which is the right path to get out of all the health unsupportive conditions a woman can face, a single person can face, a person living with mentally or socially or physically disabled people can face, a person living with people who are ignorant can face. And this is not about judgment, but this is about discernment, like what is the best outcome. And when I am surrounded by people like this, it is not possible to and also have limited finances and resources. I can't simply just fly off to a different country and get some partial recovery there and come back to my own country and again live in conditions which will not be health supportive. And I can't go and challenge myself with right now I can't do even any surgery, is not possible right now on my body, because my body is too toxed out from metals and other chemical exposures. So surgery will involve use of metals, surgery will involve use of materials, surgery will involve use of medicine, all of which, if again the right medicine and medical conditions are not present, and after surgery my body will also require healthy nutritious food, which is also a problem currently in this earth where I am living, where right healthy nutritious food is not accessible every day. So recovery is only possible when, for a person with my precarious state of health, recovery is only possible when the right conditions will be met. And if it doesn't get met, it does mean that I will die, or if I don't die, I will be in a very bad health condition where I will be just cruelly surviving through something that I should not survive through. It would be a merciful thing if I can instead die, so that this information can go to be put to use in my next life. So these are my alternatives. I either die from the conditions present currently. Secondly, I also, because these are the only choices left, I am either dying or I am barely surviving right now. This is what has been going on for past few years. And I'm not an ignorant person. Because I'm not an ignorant person, I know where the changes need to be made related to my specific healthcare conditions and healthcare conditions of anyone who is similarly in these types of health situations. But while I know the solution, if the solution provider doesn't come up, my knowing the solution just makes me know what is the right solution, what is the wrong solution. But the right provider of the solution, if that person doesn't exist, doesn't connect with me, doesn't want to collaborate or connect with me, again my purpose of all this knowledge then goes to waste. And then also the better outcome would be then to instead die now from the conditions that are prevalent, that will not help me survive. And because surviving through also, like do you understand, like if you have cancer, how painful it is? That's why many cancer patients, there are some cancer patients who have survived when they have got a lot of people to caretake them or give them the careful nutrition and food that they needed, or they had the life circumstances where the right food and nutrition specific for their recovery was present in their life. There are other cancer patients I know who didn't survive through their cancer, especially because they didn't have all the right supportive health conditions for them to survive through cancer. Same way with a patient with a precarious heart condition, patient with a long-term chronic kidney disease. Everyone who survives or doesn't survive is able to simply survive, and there are people who have also survived through illnesses where they are barely surviving, barely existing in a healthy state, where they are cruelly being subject to living a long life simply because their family or other people are not merciful enough to understand that when they should be let go of their misery. This is also a problem zone in India or other countries, where people sometimes put people in a machine or put people in a grievous state where for 10, 20, 30, 40 years that person is suffering and suffering and suffering, but people are not ready to let them go or let them mercifully be released from their suffering, which is also something people have to understand. And this is related to toxic attachment, because when we are not ready to let go of someone who, yes, we are very emotionally attached to them, yes, we are very emotionally lovingly we have cared for them or had an intention of care for them, because of which we have carried their burden of sickness for so long, But if you are not able to perceive what is the right intervention for them, or even if right intervention suggestions are being made to you, you do not have the right people to execute the interventions needed for them to actually have a high quality life. All you're doing is making someone continue in a very vegetative or near vegetative state of life, and which I'm understanding in the last 5 years. The more my agony has prolonged and prolonged, and the more I have not been able to get access to the necessary resources needed for right interventions to appear. And if it doesn't appear, I know that the consequence of following a false intervention is 100 times more serious for me, simply because those people who are needed to actually give the right intervention are not present in my life, and not present in the places where I have explored to see whether those kind of people can be available. Because the people who are teachable about something don't want to learn. Like, they have a lot of energy, lot of brains, lot of education, lot of blessings in their own life to be able to learn how to provide the right care, but they're not ready to do it. And then there are people, even if they are very compassionate people, they are so scared of, if someone is sick and needing urgent intervention, sometimes they'll be very emotional, sometimes they'll be very angry, sometimes they'll be very disturbed about their condition, sometimes they'll be not at their optimum level of functioning to be nice and kind and balanced in their wordings or choices. But you can't equate someone who is grievously ill with the same person who is not ill and unable to do it out of ignorance, or unable to do it out of their ego. Because when you are sick, you're not operating from your ego, you're operating from the pain of the sickness you're going through. You're not operating, you've been pushed by the universe to operate sometimes in a very negative and toxic way to someone. But at a time, a healthy person, if they don't understand that this person is unhealthy, and that's why I need to show a different level of care or caretaking for this person, they also can't be involved in healthcare practices or healthcare supportive practices. They don't understand that they are not ready or mature enough to be in that field, where they have not understood the deeper elements necessary for caretaking a really sick patient. And this is how where everyone has to evolve and understand the level of ignorance you have, and the level of ignorance that leads you to mistakenly think you are the top level of providing care to someone, when you might be that. It's not that good caretakers are not there in the world, but the high level of caretaking that some humans need currently on earth, that high level of caretakers are very less. And because they are less, they are also very much always in demand. And because they are always in demand, sometimes those people who are always in demand end up going with helping those who can give them the money, or give them the social credit, or give them the financial gain or something. And so those highly in demand people don't end up now going and treating those who are in the class of people who cannot give them social credit, cannot give them even happy words or thoughts, cannot give them monetary gain, cannot give them respect. So then what is this choice left? The only choice left for those people either is to continue and stay prolonged in their misery of bad health, or the second choice is somehow, if God makes their life condition as worse as possible, if they end up dying from that condition. because these are the only two merciful paths left for them. There's no other middle path left at all. In the middle path, all that's going to happen is their misery, suffering, health condition, life condition, social condition, lack of care related condition. It just continues to prolong unnecessarily on earth, which is why everyone who thinks and feels they have a knowledge that they have needs to understand, when you have a knowledge that you have, where is the limitation of the knowledge that you have, or the applicability of the work that you do, and where your applicability of the work you have done for so long ends, and some new way of working has to begin for someone else who understands what is necessary for these gaps of people where the standard ways of care are not working for them. For them, a newer way of caretaking, shared caretaking, different way of caretaking has to emerge, because there's millions and millions of people like this existing on earth currently who are in this state where normal standardized practices cannot work for them because of multiple reasons associated, individual specific to their life or country or social condition or gender related condition or socioeconomic status related condition or physical or mental health status related condition or physical, mental, emotional, social, financial health status related condition. So I hope this was educational, and people, that's why need to understand that ignorance is not, the sin of ignorance is not admitting that you are ignorant. The sin of ignorance is those who don't admit when they are ignorant about something. The sin of ignorance is those who, in their inability or incapacity to admit when they are ignorant, leads to more and more misery propagation for those who need help but can't get access to help. Those who need help have asked for help and haven't been able to get the help that they need, and those who can provide the help when they are stopped from doing the work they were meant to do, because that is the work only they can do. The reason why I'm going through all this, if I have to, there's only two ways, as I said, for everyone, that either live through this or I don't live through this. If I don't live through this, I'm educating people about this so that anyone else who will listen to these videos, who is ready to make the right shift and change necessary in their life, will start making these changes in their life, either at an individual scale or at a grand scale, depending on, or at the medium scale, depending on what is your range of influence. And if I don't live through this also, that it doesn't just simply go away, this understanding, because it then just becomes important in the next stage of my soul's journey, which is completely something I have left to God, even though I have got an insight on what could be the potential next stages of my soul's journey, and which you should always, if you are near death or not sure whether you will survive through what you are going through, that is what people are meant to do. You leave it to God, because you don't know what is the right solution anymore, because everything you could have done was done, and everything others could do, if they can't do, you can't force other people to do what they are incapable of understanding or not ready to evolve from. And this is why also many COVID patients who are long COVID will eventually die currently in the next phase of earthly life, if their family, if their society, if their culture, if their social conditions, socioeconomic conditions don't change in a way that is needed for them to get realigned back into a healthy living condition. And they should die, because that is the merciful solution. People also need to understand they have to let go of the attachment to those people who are meant to die next, if they die, because you again, when you are feeling attached emotionally about someone, remember that that person never leaves you. That person does stay with you in the soul level. That person will also in a way might be in a different life come back to you after their death as your grandson, grandchild, or new friend with that same soul energy. So someone who exits your life exits merely because someone else who is meant to enter your life can then enter to change and shift your life in the way that is balanced and needed for you to change and shift. I hope this video made sense, and if you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much.